Hello everyone and welcome to LEGO Star Wars Hot Takes episode 24. As always, if you have any hot takes or controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Hopping right into it, this first one comes from YouTube Newtzer, I guess that's how you say your name. He says, hot take, they should have left out 2 vehicles in the new Clones vs Droids battle pack and added more B1 droids instead. Now I've seen a lot of people saying this online and honestly I don't agree with it. I mean, the set literally has 9 minifigures, I don't think we need any more, and also I think 3 Super Battle Droids is perfectly fine. I mean, obviously you could say the more the merrier, however I'm happy with 3. And also I don't really know which vehicle they could take out to add more minifigures or Super Battle Droids like you said, because I mean the Tri-Droid and the Clone Speeder really have to be there. If anything, I feel like the best thing they could take out is maybe the little clone barrier. However, I actually really like that build and it's clear that they were trying to resemble the 2007 clone battle pack, so that probably wasn't even an option for them. So I mean, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of to take out. I think the Stab and the Tri-Droid definitely fit the set, and so does the Speeder, even though it's kind of ugly. So I mean, yeah, if they were to remove something, in my mind the best option would be the Barricade. However, they obviously wouldn't do that, and again, this doesn't even need to be done. I think we have the perfect amount of minifigures and the perfect amount of builds. I'm really just speaking hypothetically for the people that want more minifigures. Mike Patton says, the memory and nostalgia of playing with LEGO Star Wars as a kid is better than actually owning and collecting sets now for display. Now, yes, I do agree with this partially. I mean, obviously this is true if you only buy LEGO Star Wars sets to fulfill nostalgia from your childhood, which I think unfortunately a lot of people in the LEGO community do, and they just don't get the fulfillment they're looking for. And I'm gonna be honest, for myself, I don't really do this. I buy LEGO Star Wars sets because I enjoy them now. I mean, obviously nostalgia is a part of it when I'm buying retired sets. However, I just don't want them or get them for the same reasons that I did as a kid. Like as a kid, I wanted them to play with obviously, and it gave me joy to play with them. But now that I've gotten older, I don't really think about the nostalgia when I buy sets. I buy them as a collector, really to have them and to admire the models and to display them like you said. And honestly, in my head, I separate that from just playing with them as a kid. And I don't even try to compare the two just because I feel like collecting them now is so much different than from collecting them as a kid. My motives for this sets are just so much different now. I'm not trying to recreate anything from my childhood. If anything, I'm trying to create something new. And I mean, at times, yeah, I feel nostalgic and there's still sets that I want that I didn't get in my childhood. However, now I want them for different reasons. I don't want them just to recreate feelings from my childhood. And that's really all I have to say about LEGO and nostalgia. I mean, again, obviously nostalgia is a part of it. However, my motives for collecting the sets are just so much different now that the idea of trying to recreate feelings from my childhood is just out the window. I mean, I'm really trying my best to make this make sense for you. I'm sorry if you're getting confused. I'm trying to say that the nostalgia is obviously there and it's a part of it sometimes. I'm really saying I enjoy it for different and new reasons than I did as a kid, and I'm not just trying to recreate feelings from my childhood, if any of that made sense. And also, I'm just speaking for myself. I obviously can't speak for other people. However, I do feel like a lot of people just collect LEGO Star Wars for nostalgia, and I can definitely see why you're commenting this. This next one comes from E-Name. He says, hot take, most people really don't want or need Cloud City Boba Fett or Finch Dallo and any other minifigures that are just expensive. They aren't that different than their cheaper versions, and the cool factor or it being a white whale is based purely on price. Now, I'm going to try to answer this in the nicest way possible, but I completely disagree with you. First of all, I don't think you should be speaking for other people on why they want a minifigure or don't want a minifigure, and I definitely don't think you should be claiming that people only want them just because they're quote-unquote expensive, because the reason they're expensive is because they're rare and there's a demand, and the reason there's a demand is because there's some significance about the figure. Like for Finch Dallo, he's very rare because he was only available for like a short period of time in 2019. I don't remember exactly how long he was available. If someone remembers, please let me know in the comments because I've completely forgotten. But he was available for a very short time in the US, so obviously that made him very rare. And then with Cloud City Boba Fett, he was the first minifigure to have arm printing, or the first LEGO Star Wars minifigure to have arm printing. And then that on top of him being a very popular character is obviously going to make him very valuable and very rare and very sought after. You have to realize that the demand drives the price doesn't drive the demand. So people don't just want it just because it's expensive, and it's not expensive for just no reason. I mean, that goes for every minifigure. I mean, the 2 12th Troopers in 2014, they're expensive and valuable because they're one of the best clone troopers ever made. And there's plenty of other examples too, like the classic Phase 2 clone troopers or any of the other figures that came in Cloud City that are all exclusive. It's not just expensive for no reason, it's expensive because there's a demand, and there's a demand because they're significant in some way. And also, I definitely don't think people just want them because they're expensive. The reason people want them is because of their significance and because of their rarity. And if you're a diehard collector, you're gonna understand that. If you're not, I guess it's gonna be hard for you to understand. But if you're a collector, you're gonna want the rare items because they just make your collection more complete. And I mean, that's how it is for me. Someday I want the super valuable figures, and someday I also want these super cheap figures just to complete my collection. Mr. Blob Stop Motion says the Ahsoka Troopers are good. And yes, I semi-agree with you. I do think the Ahsoka Troopers get a little bit too much hate. In my opinion, they are the worst clone troopers that were released in 2023. However, that's more just personal preference for me. It's not because the figures are bad. Like, for example, I just like the 501st Troopers that came out in January more than the Ahsoka Troopers just because I like the blueprinting better. So it's mainly just personal preference why I think they were the weakest ones released this year. But I mean, still, besides the helmet holes, I don't think they're bad figures at all. And I've talked about this before, but helmet holes are more noticeable to me, at least, on some troopers than they are on others. And that's just due to the printing patterns on the helmet. Like, for example, I think they're very noticeable on the 332nd Troopers, but I don't think they're very noticeable on the Shock Troopers, just because the Shock Troopers have better helmet printing. I know it's kind of weird to think that way, but to me, at least, the helmet printing really does make or break the clone trooper in regarding to the helmet holes, to me at least. And again, unfortunately, I think they're the most noticeable on the 332nd Troopers. And as for Captain Vaughn, obviously he could have been better, or not better, he could have just been different from the other 3 clone troopers just to make him stand out more besides a visor and a little print on his torso. But I mean, still, I don't think the troopers are bad, I just don't really personally like them. And also, I do have to say, I think the battle pack as a whole is really good. I really love the Swamp Speeder build. I'd honestly say it's one of the best battle pack builds we've ever gotten, and no, I definitely don't think it's the worst set that were released in 2023, cough cough. Airman says 2019 was the best year of LEGO Star Wars. I've seen a few people say this, and I think I actually might have answered one of these before, but no, I don't think 2019 was the best year of LEGO Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, it was a great year. There were some great sets that we got that year. Off the top of my head, obviously a new UCS Star Destroyer, a new AT-AP, Kylo Ren shuttle that's actually black and has folding wings and looks really awesome, and some other notable ones too, like the 20th anniversary sets. But there were also sort of a lot of throwaway sets we got that year, mainly from like the Rise of Skywalker and some other random ones that you guys probably forgotten about, like those weird action target sets. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, 2019 definitely had some great sets, but it also had a lot of forgettable sets. And in my opinion, I still think 2014 was the best year of LEGO Star Wars because there really wasn't a notably bad set that year. I think every set was either great or good. And on top of that, in 2014, we saw the most variety we've ever seen in a year, with loads of prequel sets with tons of new Clone Troopers, Episode 3 and the Clone Wars, as well as tons of original trilogy sets with plenty of Stormtroopers and plenty of Rebels. Like I said, every set was good and we just had a perfect variety. Gag Dodgers says, well, let's say GAG Dodgers. He says, why do people care about LEGO box art? And you know, this is actually a really good question that I've never seen anyone ask before, because out of all the questionable things in the LEGO Star Wars community from an outsider's perspective, I think this one is the most questionable. More questionable than super valuable minifigures, more questionable than super valuable sets. I genuinely wonder why I've never seen anyone ask why we care about box art so much. And I'm not saying I'm questioning it. I mean, I know the answer to this. I'm just saying I'm surprised that I've never seen it questioned before until now. Anyways, the simplest answer is just it looks cool and it doesn't last forever. Like, obviously the box art changes like every 2 years. And also I think a big part of it is nostalgia, which is kind of ironic how I just went on a whole rant about nostalgia. I really think people don't really favor box art until it gets kind of old. Like, for instance, a lot of people don't like the minimalistic box art that we have now, but I guarantee in 10 years people will probably feel nostalgic about it. And also some people like to display their boxes, especially if the sets are sealed, but even when they're empty, some people like to break them down and like put them on the wall or something, and other people just like to display them on shelves because they can look cool, like the white 2009 Clone Wars boxes or the golden UCS boxes from like 2014, 2015. A lot of the box arts just simply look cool, and that's why we like them. And I think that's a good one to end on, so that's it for this week's episode. As always, if you guys have any controversial opinions or hot takes about LEGO Star Wars, make sure to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And if you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.